The first thing that I want to demonstrate is how to determine the orientation of a planar surface by using the Brunton TrueArc compass. Now we've got a little bit of an outcrop here in our sandbox. This beautiful piece of rock actually represents a folded structure. You can see the hinge line over here, and you've got one limb on this side and you've got another limb on that side. Now I tell you this because, as always, it is very important to know what you are actually going to determine the orientation of. You can't just measure anything, but we can measure a limb of a fold because in a certain respect it represents a planar surface. So the first step is always to make sure that your magnetic declination is set correctly, and then you actually take your compass with the lid and you place that lid on that planar surface. Now that lid is not going to move away from that planar surface, but it's going to move on the planar surface. You then of course also have to get the base of the compass level, okay? And if you do that, this will ensure that the hinge of the compass also represents strike, okay, or structure contour. So to get it level, we will have to rotate the lid on the surface, but we also have to move the base up and down until the bubble is right in the center of the level. Okay, once that is the case, we can now go and we can rotate the dial so that the red part of the magnetic needle coincides with the red part of the orienteering arrow. And then we can read off the direction here on this side, where we see the green index marker actually intersects the black part of the graduated circle, and I will show you that now. But before I can actually remove our compass from the surface, we have to draw a little line parallel to the lid, because that of course represents true dip. Okay, there you can see I've made that little mark. Okay, that's along which we are going to determine the dip angle. Then of course we're going to read off, as you can see here, it is at about 32 degrees. We read off on the outside because the planar surface is dipping in that direction. The next important thing of course is to determine the dip angle, the true dip, and to be able to do that we have to use our clinometer, and here we can see our clinometer. Okay, but our clinometer needs to be parallel to the sides of the compass. So to do that, we dial in on our compass the east-west direction, 270 or 90 degrees here on the index marker, as you can see over there. Then we make sure that our little arrow, which we use for determining the dip angle, falls on the correct side of the clinometer, like this, and not like that. Okay? We then take our compass with the side of the base and we put it parallel to the surface or the line along which the true dip occurs, and we read off the angle at that little marker. In this case it is about 40 degrees.